Tourism in Peru. Did you know that between the years 1980s and 2000, an estimate of 69,280 people died and disappeared due to terrorism in Peru? With Sendero Luminoso, MRTA, and state agents the main responsibles. And that 3 of every 4 victims were peasants or farmers whose mother tongue was Quechua. Did you know anything about this? So, what were the top causes and motions of terror? Basically, 4 reasons. The first one, ideologies. In Peru, by the 70s, 2 ideologies were formed. One of them promoted individual liberties for the progress of the country, and the other, a society without social classes to achieve equality. This clash of ideologies was due to the second causes. The second one, social inequality. In those years, our society concentrated the rich in the most important cities and many other people in areas far from economic and social progress, being marginalized and discriminated against. Third, expansion of ideologies. Taking advantage of this situation, Abimael Guzman, who was a professor of philosophy at the university, convinced a group of students that the revolution was possible and necessary. The insufficient public found the cover education in the so-called sectors along them, to convince very quickly by these terrorism groups, and if they didn't enjoy them, they were treated and threatened very dead. But what were the main facts in Peru? For this, we have to go back more than 13 years ago. The first period, called the beginning of armed violence, lasted from 1980s to 1982. In 1980s, Sendero Luminoso burned the electoral envoy and the district of Chusquí, Ayacucho. With this, he became self-proclaimed popular war against Peruvian state. In that same year, Belaúnde Terry assumes the president. In 1982, Sendero Luminoso attacked the Huamanga prison, killed policemen and releasing 304 people, many of them accused of terrorism. A group of wards executes 3 wounded terrorism, with which Sendero Luminoso appears a force, victims of the police brutality. Since the Sendero Luminoso violence was direct against peasants and a small authority, keeping cavity defenseless population, carry out mistreatment and murders as a way to give example and instill fear. Second period, the militarization of the conflict. This occurred between 1983 and 1986. In 1983, a group of armed killed 8 journalists in the town of Uchuracay to confuse them with terrorism. In 1984, MRTA formally begins. In 1986, Alan Garcia assumes the president and Sendero Luminoso placed car bombs in front of government palace. Third period, deployment of violence. In 1989, Sendero Luminoso, in alliance with drugs traffickers, attacks the Uchiza police base. That same year, they declare their people's war as their objective. Fourth period, the extreme crisis, 1989-1992. In 1990, Alberto Fujimori assumed the president, and subsequent years, the National Intelligence Service plans and execute a special operation on its own. The Colina group, called the Death Squad, continue with human rights violations such as extrajudicial executions and disappearance, torture, massacres, sexual violence, and against women and other equally reprehensible crimes. In 1992, Sendero placed a car bomb on Tarata, Lima Street, leaving 25 dead, 16 missing, and more than 200 injured. The same year, the leader of terrorism group, Abimael Guzman, and other leaders stops in Lima. 5th period, decline of subversive action. In 1996, the MRT held 72 hostages in Japanese embassy, which are released thanks to Chavín de Guantar operation. Finally, in the year 1990, Oscar Ramírez Feliciano, successor of Guzman in Sendero Luminoso, was captured. And as what can we do? How to prevent the story from happening again? We have to learn to respect different ideologies without violence, always maintaining a democratic and inclusive state. Reduce social gaps, encourage dialogue. We must be inclusive and stop discriminating because we are all Peruvians. Develop an education in values and knowledge to be able to exercise and a critical opinion and right decisions in our lives. It is important not to forget it in order to prevent it from happening again.